What right did they have to go so hard on the fucking Pac-Man music? I mean, just compare this and the one that, like, because the only original piece of Pac-Man music is fucking... And there's a song that they did on the Smash OST. Let's see if I can find that. That was just that riff over and over again, and they, like, it was bad. Pac-Man Smash music. Like Pac-Man Club Mix? No. Okay, this is a... Oh, yeah, they are kind of doing the thing. It's like, goddamn, you know... I feel so much better for, like, the Mario series and, like, Sonic, because they have a... And, like, Kirby, they got a lot of classic riffs in, like, the first iterations of their games. I guess the first Mario game was Donkey Kong. But, I don't know. With Pac-Man, it's like, what the fuck do you do besides dipping into, like, all the spin-offs and sequels and shit? Anywho, boys, I'm gonna do more reviews today. I've been sort of agonizing over how exactly to do these arcade games, and I've developed a new rule. We're going to introduce a new type of, like, score for these games. To anybody who has not joined us for these before, let me just get rid of this. But not these guys. I've just been going through this big obnoxious list of all the games that I've streamed so far, and we've been doing reviews of them. It's just based on how much I personally like the game. It's not meant to be an objective ranking. It's just like how much fun I had with it and how much I admire the game. I don't fucking know. And then here's whether I recommend it or not. And if you're wondering if I'm going to play any background music, the answer is no. It's going to be dead fucking silent in the background. I'm going to listen to my own music, and I would encourage you to do the same, or, like, play a video game or whatever. Because these streams are not the most visually exciting, as you can probably tell. So, I have already activated my tunes, and I encourage you to do the same. No, I'm not listening to Pac-Man Club Mix. But before we get to... Hold on, let me talk about the new thing. Because I've added a new category, which is NA, which stands for North America. Let it be known that Primal Rage... Oh, shit. Wait, I'm not logged into the fucking... How embarrassing. I'm not logged into the right account to edit the, the file. Oh, God. I have to do two-factor authentication. Ah. Oh. Come on, Google. Come on. Okay. Well, that... How embarrassing. Okay. So, like I was saying, we're gonna go Primal Rage, we're gonna go N/A, and that's gonna turn a lovely pink color. NA just means that I played a version of the game that was not properly emulated. I looked through the rest of the list to see if any other games were like this, but I think it's literally just something to do with the arcade games, because some of them I don't feel like I can give a fair ranking to, because the version of it that I played is, like, crippled. Like, Primal Rage infamously emulates really poorly. So, I think it was like the inputs were not working properly, and there was this weird glitch where you'd, like, float above the ground a little bit. So I'm going to do that for a few games where, like, fucking Baby Pac-Man was what spurred this on, because I barely played that game. It's a complicated situation. But yeah, I was agonizing also about, like, you know, when I fucking reviewed Tetris, I was like, how do you review Tetris? Like, what the fuck is this? This is nonsense. I feel the same way about doing Pac-Man. But then I decided at the end of the day, I'm just going to fucking bite the bullet and give it a 6 out of 10 and move on. But before we do that, I'm going to go back up here, because I foolishly, for like no reason, put all the Nintendo games at the top. So I recently played Donkey Kong Land, and that gets booted right in here. All the Nintendo games just get reviewed early because favoritism, I guess. But Donkey Kong Land, to those of you who didn't join the streams, because very few people watched that, is a Game Boy standard, not advanced, not color, not nothing, just Game Boy version of Donkey Kong Country. But it's kind of its own thing. and I think it was in development at the same time as DKC2, so there's a lot of similar... There's, like, the whole mechanic of, like, climbing on ropes in, like, pirate ship levels technically originated in this game. Which kind of blew my mind, actually. I don't know if the developers were, like, trading notes or whatever. It is very impressive how well they managed to do Donkey Kong Country on the fucking Game Boy, which is a piece of shit in terms of hardware. I mean, you know, they're infamously durable, and it was a cool system for the time, but trying to make a SNES game work on the Game Boy was an insane undertaking, and they did pretty well. It's bad. It's not good, but it's better than you would expect. I don't know. I'd maybe give this one like a 5.5. It's cool. It's cool seeing some of the unique level concepts that never really showed up in any other games. But it's got a lot of those Game Boy platformer issues where like your character moves super slow. I feel like they just straight up move slower because the screen is like not as wide and you need to be able to react to shit showing up. But that thin screen still, it feels like it fucks me over sometimes where I'm like, I can't even see where I have to jump here, you know. They're usually pretty good about it. And the music is shockingly good. That's the thing that really surprised me the most, was that the music was not comparable to the SNES version, but like they put fucking aquatic ambience in there, and I was like, what? How'd you do that? How did you fucking do that? What if I wanted to send a video based around you? How would I do it? I don't know. Put it on the subreddit or the Twitter or whatever. There was someone else who was asking where to put fan art too. Yeah, we have a Buru. I haven't really talked about this in a long time, but if I just type !Buru in the chat, there you go. Hopefully it works. Sometimes the Buru like shits itself and dies and doesn't work. So, hopefully they got their shit together though. Okay. Now this one is fucking... This is the McDonald's DS game. It's not even a game. It's meant to be like a training program. I mean, should I put NA for this one? I'm legitimately considering it. No, it's not worth playing because, I mean, the version that I played is the English translation that's like actually unfinished. When you hit the option in the menu that says challenge the McDonald's, there's like an incomplete quiz where like it's like a third of the questions answers. It's like a multiple choice quiz. A third of the answers are in English, a third of the answers are Japanese, and a third of the answers aren't there at all. Just invisible. So as a, I don't know, they're like restoration project to like get it translated to English is not great. But it is funny. It's very funny. And it's kind of neat in like a weird dystopian way, seeing that stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's like a bee game, you know? It's not about bees, but it has, it is humorous in how, like, weird and shitty it is. And the music in the game is like, I heard someone once say it's written by the world's biggest McDonald's fan. Like, they did, you know, it's kind of like the Pac-Man thing that I was talking about. They worked da-da-da-da-da into, like, every song. It's kind of mind-blowing. Look up the soundtrack if you want to see a true, like, corporate nightmare. So... what the fuck do I rank this game? I don't know. It's like a 4. Like, it wasn't fun. Oh, really? You're gonna pull this bullshit? Okay, we need to find another 4. This is my slapdash solution for this. Oops, don't look at that. Okay. Yeah, I feel good with that. I don't know. It's like, it's funny enough to be that entertaining, enough to be like a 4. Giving it the same rank as Ori and the Blind Forest just feels fucking wrong, but let's remember, this is my personal level of enjoyment. This is not to say that they're comparable works. Okay. Speaking of comparable works, the arcade games are going to be weird. I've always expressed my like discomfort about the fact that I'm rating something like Root Beer Tapper on the same number scale as like Half-Life 2, you know? And so I urge you to not think about these in comparison to other games, you know? Okay. So, Pac-Man, let's all be honest here. Pac-Man's iconic. It's a 6 out of 10. I thought about this a long time. It is a 6 out of fucking 10. For me, at least. I mean, it's more fun than, like, Donkey Kong and shit, and, like, Super Mario Brothers. But it's no Tapper. It's no Root Beer Tapper. I don't know. It just gets old pretty fast, and it also gets fucking impossible to play pretty fast. Not actually impossible. Oh, we got a hype train! Ooh! There's people who can consistently get to, like, the kill screen or whatever, and that's awesome. But I always die on, like, the 3rd level, and then I'm like, fuck this, you know? And plus, Ms. Pac-Man is just the superior version of it, just straight up. So, I don't know. Do I recommend Pac-Man? Like, fucking sure. I'm gonna say, like, historical significance plays a lot more into whether or not I recommend something versus the rating of it. I don't know. I'm sorry if that's complete nonsense. Okay, Ms. Pac-Man. I'm gonna have to, like, remember. I had to, like, sort of refresh my memory on what some of these Pac-Men even specifically were like. Super Pac-Man and Pac and Pal, I had to go back and watch more of. Ms. Pac-Man is just an improvement. It's even got a less obnoxious chomping sound than normal Pac-Man, but it's basically just the same game with more variety of content. And Pac-Man is now a cute girl. So, I mean, what's not to like? 6.5? There's really not much else to say. You know, I always tear up a little bit at They Meet. Yes, sure, recommend. Okay, now Pac-Man Plus, this was another one I had to sort of remember. Pac-Man Plus is kind of an upgrade pack. It's like a fucking... It's really weird. It's like an alteration that you make to the original Pac-Man. And it, like, turns the blue ghosts into, like, weird little Pikmin things. This game's fucking bullshit. Is the main thing that I remember about it, is that it's like a difficulty hack for Pac-Man 1. Where, like, sometimes when you get a super pill, like, the ghosts will turn invisible instead of turning blue or whatever. Or sometimes, like, only one of them will just randomly not turn blue and, like, fuck you over. It's just got a bunch of, like, weird troll shit in it. Wow, I've collected all the level 1 emotes. Hey, quick question, Twitch. What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? And it's just got a weird vibe. Pac-Man Plus, because it's got like a Coke can and an aloe vera or some shit like that. Was it ever confirmed that was actually aloe vera? I think it was like peas in a pod or something. But it's not very good. I don't know if I would recommend it. I think a lot of these later ones I'm not going to recommend. Just feels so dumb trying to give it like a serious amount of thought. Where does Pac-Man Plus stand in my ranking in games history? I don't know. It's like a pretty significant downgrade, honestly. It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit Pac-Man. Edamame, possibly. Sorry, edamame. That was one of those words that I mispronounced for most of my life. Okay, baby goddamn Pac-Man. This is an NA. And I'll still talk about the game. But, you know, maybe I should also put 4. No. No, hold on. That's going to make it look weird. Let's just put NA. No. Wait, is that real? I swear I only did the conditional formatting on this row. What the fuck? Okay, well, let's just leave those blank. Fuck it. I think that looks best, actually. 4. So, yeah, I explained it here, kinda, but this is a pinball video game hybrid. It's fucking weird. I did play a ROM of it, but it was like basically unplayable. I mean, it's literally impossible to complete. But it's got this whole thing where you play a little bit of Pac-Man, and you need to like navigate Pac-Man into the pinball machine where he becomes a physical ball that you like hit around, and then you do things in the pinball game to like earn super pills in the video game portion. It's really weird. But since I couldn't, it was like anytime I tried to enter the pinball table part, it would just crash. So, And it was just like, you know, shitter looking graphics. Like, it just looked way worse. It looked like the fucking Atari version of Pac-Man. And then it was also unplayable. So, you know, I don't feel like I can give a recommendation or not. That being said, it's an arcade machine. So you're really only going to see it if you're just randomly perusing arcades. I doubt any of you are going to deliberately seek out baby Pac-Man. That'd be ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know. It's neat. It's a neat concept. I'm sure it's fun to play, but I'm not a pinball machine expert, so I don't know. Anywho, Super Pac-Man. This one was also kind of lame. You know, I actually have to... Is this the one with the keys? I have like a playlist of my streams here. And I'm just briefly looking back. Yeah, that was the one with all the keys. And that's the one where you become huge. And apparently there was a run button in this game. It's almost worth giving it an NA rating, but I don't think so. I don't know how much it would have improved my enjoyment of the game. But this is like weirdo, bizarro Pac-Man again, but like even weirder. And I feel like they overcomplicated it. Like they took a very simple premise and they went a little too wacky with it, where it's like there's all these locked doors, the pills have just been replaced by fruit, you have to pick up the keys to open the doors. It's very strange. And instead of getting, like, when you pick up a super pill, you like become huge. It's pretty lame, honestly. Like and the maze is like kind of weird and like full of dead ends that aren't really normally a thing in Pac-Man. It's just they kind of ruined it, honestly. Whoa. Maybe I don't know. I don't know why I said maybe there. Sometimes I start a sentence and I don't know what I'm going to say. Okay. No, would not recommend. And I don't know, this is like a 3. Let's call it a 3. It's funny because I say don't compare these to one another, but I totally, when I'm like, it's like, okay, it's another Pac-Man game. It's like in the same open quotes engine. I don't know fucking if they had engines back in that day, not really. But probably used a lot of the same hardware. And looks very similar and plays very similar, but it's just worse. So I feel like I'm okay comparing them then. Okay, Pac and Pal was a little bit better, I think. It was also pretty complicated. It did have a fun little gimmick with Pal, which was like this cutesy little like Sanrio looking thing that would help out Pac-Man. I don't really remember the exact mechanics of it. It was like Pal would like drag things towards the center of the screen for whatever. I don't remember really. But I seem to remember it having basically the same issues as Super Pac-Man. This is the one where you can fucking pick up an X, or what is it, X Rally? You can just pick up a racer from that. It does have good music. I don't know. I seem to remember liking this one a little bit better than Super Pac-Man. So we're going to take the absolute coward route and call it a 3.5. I think that feels right. It's like, again, I was agonizing. I was like, oh man, you know, rating these games is going to feel so weird. But you just got to grip it and rip it. So, Professor Pac-Man. This game is like a fucking... It's like Polybius. This game is insane. You should not play this game if you are photosensitive or just generally sensitive. If you get nauseous easily, I don't know, religious people probably shouldn't play this game. It's actually bad. This game is an assault on the senses. and it's got really horrible like sound and visual design that just like I don't know, like I got a seizure and I don't even have epilepsy. I didn't actually get a seizure. But it's fucked. And it's also like a weird it's like a weird quiz game basically. And it's got some cute little animations, but it's just the whole thing is so like weird and brutal. It's so strange. Lots of strange imagery, kind of almost disturbing. Not really. Uncanny. This game's very uncanny. I don't know. I'm going to give this like a 1.5. Let's give it a 2. Let's give it a 2 out of 10. It is kind of funny, but I'll tell you what. Whoa, if you watched my YouTube video on it, you probably got just about all the enjoyment that is possible to get out of the game. It's fucked. It's a hazardous game. Okay, Junior Pac-Man. Now, this is one where they got back to basics, and I kind of like this one. It's basically the same as Pac-Man with a couple of new mechanics that aren't super like crazy or complicated or intrusive. You know, the old ones weren't that complicated, but it's a game that strives on being simple, I think, Pac-Man. So, this is basically just side-scrolling Pac-Man where the screen scrolls, and that's essentially it. I think there's more ghosts, or they're more aggressive or something to like deal with the fact that there's a bigger maze. And I think the only other mechanic is like there's these little objects like the fruits and stuff, the little treasures. I think it's like a tricycle and shit. Bounces around and hits pegs and makes them like thicker and more difficult to eat. I think that was a concept that was carried into later. That was in like Pac-Man 99, right? I think. Anyway, this one's good. I don't know, like roughly, I'd give it maybe like the same rank as Ms. Pac-Man. It's got the cute little cutscenes. I think this is the one where the Pac-Man family has like a car made out of super pills, which is really funny and dumb. They're like that cracked out of their minds at all times that they have a car made out of pills. Yes, would recommend. I don't know. I don't know. It's not like, oh, dude, you gotta play Junior Pac-Man. But like, if you're walking around an arcade, sure, check it out. Now Pac Land, this is another one that's like funny. I think, didn't the creator of Pac-Man say that Pac Land was his favorite game that he ever made? Which he's just full of shit. Like it's maybe it's his personal favorite. But like, what the actual fuck? It's not very fun, in my opinion. It's cute. It's got good music. I mean, it looks. I'm sorry if I'm like being a normie here, but it looks so bad, and it plays really awkwardly. It's got like a really weird control scheme. It's just very strange. It also just doesn't feel like a game that's suited to the arcade, you know, because it kind of has like. I don't know, it has much more of like a home console progression feel, you know? Yeah, maybe he had a fucking blast making it, but, I don't know, it's just weird and kind of lame. This is the one where there are swastikas on the wheels of the cars that the ghosts drive, and there's also a church with a Christian cross on it. Favorite game that he hasn't worked on? Still a weird take, but that makes a little more sense. Anywho. Yeah, the Christian cross was censored in Smash, by the way. And I think the little ghosts in cars just tactfully don't show up. I don't even think they have that like part of the level in the Smash stage, if I recall correctly. Okay, Pac Land, it's not good. I don't really like it. Whatever. I don't know, I'd give it like a 2.5 out of 10. I'm sorry, I know it's a beloved, it's sort of a cult classic, I guess. But it just wasn't very fun, especially on emulator. Binding the like weird controls so that they made some kind of sense was kind of a pain in the ass. Okay, last pack for now. There's Pac-Man Arrangement down here. Pac-Mania. This one is cool. It's kinda... I kind of don't like it, though. I found it weirdly difficult. It's kind of like Junior Pac-Man, where it's like a scrolling view of a huge map with a lot of ghosts on it. And you have a jump button, which you would think would make it really easy. But like the thin screen that it's on really makes it hard to see ghosts approaching from the side of the screen, or monsters, sorry. And so... I don't know, I just found myself dying a ton in it and never getting anywhere, and maybe I just suck. This one's also got banger music, too. So, I don't know. It's a bit of a mixed bag. I personally felt like the jump button was, like, super laggy, too. Like, normally, I don't really experience huge amounts of input lag on MAME, which is the emulator that I use for this. Maybe it's just an issue with this specific game, but I remember... being like, wow, you jump like almost a full second after you press the jump button. Maybe that's an exaggeration. But, yeah, I don't know. It's neat. This one's like a 4.5. I'm going to jail. Yeah, I'm gonna not recommend it. It's just on the fence. Somehow still hard despite the jump button. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just suck. Maybe I just fucking suck. Okay. Galaxian. This one sucks. This is like the shitter, like, elderly grandfather of all, like, space shooter arcade games. I don't know. It's, like, kind of cute, but there's no reason to play this game when Galaga exists. Galaga is just a complete improvement on it. I don't know. I don't even want to fucking give this game the time of day. I think this was before they introduced Galaga's, like, classic thing where you let your ship get kidnapped and then kidnap it back. Hold on, let me look. This is also the one with the weird Starship Enterprise baby bottle ship. And just the graphics just look like ass, even compared to, like, a lot of these other, like, very rudimentary games like Galaga. So yeah, it's like got some historical significance as being, it's like the alpha version of Galaga, but it's not fun. 2.5 out of 10. Fuck it. Galaga, on the other hand, is very fun. I don't know, I would probably rank this on a similar level as the original Pac-Man. It's a similar level of, like, difficulty, but there's also, you know, it's just simple enough and just complex enough that you can have some fun with it, develop cool strats, you know, to help you get a little further. And I do like the whole concept where you get your ship kidnapped, and then you, like, show up as your next life, and then you, like, hit the ship that kidnapped your ship, and it, like, powers you up. That shit's weird. Pretty cool idea. And they fixed... In Galaxian, there was this horrible issue that I had in the brief time that I played it, where whenever I would shoot, it would just go right between the little lanes of enemies. I guess, you know, Space Invaders really is the original of these, but Galaxian's like the second generation. I would always just shoot the laser clean through the, like, little rows, because the rows didn't, like, really move that much. And in Galaga, they had that whole thing where they kind of, like, compress and expand, you know, to make it so you don't miss shots like that so much, which I think was a good touch. And now I have to give it a number. And you know what? I'm going to be super rude here and not even recommend it. It is cool, though. I'm going to give this one a 4.0. 4. Because then you got G Plus and you got Galaga 88. Basically, every other version of Galaga outdoes the original version. G Plus, or G Plusy, as I like to call it, is pretty awesome. It's, like, kind of brutally difficult. But it's just this weird, super, like, fast version of the game where the enemies... I mean, in every subsequent version of this game, the enemies just go more and more ape shit. But this one is fun. It's got a cool mechanic where instead of like stealing back your own ship, you like steal enemy ships, so you get a tractor beam, and then you can like steal a bunch of the little like alien bugs to like come shoot for you. I think it's a pretty cool mechanic, but it makes your hitbox so wide that like you lose the friends almost instantly, you know? Or at least I found myself doing that. But it is cool. I don't know. I would call this probably an objectively better version of Galaga. Not to be rude. But you know what? I'm still going to be a dick. This game's very hard. I found it extremely difficult to get past like the second stage. It was just very difficult. Just everything goes like really fast. So let's give this like a 4.5. Then Galaga 88, which I can only assume came out in 1988, I think. This is a better version of the game. This is just, it doesn't have like the weird shit, some of the like differences that G+ had. G+! But it's got way better graphics. Like the backgrounds actually look really good. It's still got that classic like rainbow stars background that they've been sort of iterating on since Galaxian, but it's got actual background art that actually looks kind of good, and it's fun, and it's not like ridiculously difficult like G+. So yeah, I don't know, I don't really remember much else about it. And then Galaga Arrangement, which we'll get to, is even better than that, I think. That's the ideal version of Galaga. So let's give this a 5, and you know what? Galaga 88, you get a yes. You've crossed the barrier. It's like, if you're gonna play Galaga, play that or Arrangement. Okay. Sinistar. This game is very iconic. I didn't really find it terribly fun, though. It's like a space shooter, free-roaming, horror, sci-fi, mining, bombing game. I don't know. It's very weird. You play as this tiny, tiny, tiny little ship with, like, super fast, slippery controls. That's, like, my main downside to this game. I think it would be a lot more fun if your character just didn't go so fucking fast, you know? And then it's also, I always found it kind of like unclear exactly what I was even doing. It's like you mine the asteroids for bombs, and then you have to like shoot the bombs at Sinistar to kill him. And it's like you can find him before he's like fully formed. It's kind of like a Death Star type thing. It's weird. But yes, this game does have the iconic run, 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 I hunger, you know? I think whenever you put in a coin, it says I hunger. And that is very cool. It's a neat, like, iconic kind of horror gaming villain. But the game itself, not terribly fun. I would not say it's worth checking out, personally. But it's neat. I don't know, 4. Okay. R-Type. This one, this is very similar to Gradius. There's a lot of fucking arcade games that are just like sci-fi, side-scrolling shooter. But R-Type kind of has a little bit of a flavor of its own. I happen to think Gradius was always just the most boring shit to me. Spoiler alert for my Gradius. Oh wait, my song finally ended. I've been listening to Virtual Plaza, who's a great like ambient music creator. And all of their songs are like half an hour long. I believe they passed away recently, actually, which is very sad. But their music lives on. Big recommend. Makes it so I don't have to like go swap the song out manually, you know? Gaplussy just dropped 20 viewers. I think people are just bored after hearing me talk about 4 different versions of the same game. Anyway. So R-Type is basically the cooler Gradius. I don't remember if I beat this game or not. Did I end up beating this game? I kind of doubt it, because it just got really difficult, but it's got cool, like, sort of alien horror stuff. There's lots of, like, sort of xenomorph type imagery, just cool, sort of gross out, like, guts, aliens, monsters, I don't know. Otherwise, it's a very standard Gradius clone, basically. But it had really cool visual stuff, which I really appreciate in these types of games. That's why I love Parodius so much. That's just such a cool series, even though it's sort of a gameplay format that I don't like at all. So, yeah. It's neat. It's nothing to, like, write home about. I don't know if I would even recommend it, honestly. Let's give it, like, a 5. And I'm gonna go with no. I don't know. It's cool. It's better than Gradius. Man, we're kind of plowing through these, actually. Damn. We're making good time. I'm happy about this. Originally, I was kind of like, maybe I'll be able to get through all the arcade games this stream. But I really don't think that's going to be possible, even at the clip that we're going at right now. Because there's just so fucking many. It's satisfying, though it would have been to just crank them all out in one stream. And I already got a head start last time, too. But, okay. Xevius. This is a real shitter of a game. I'm sorry if anybody really loves Xevius. This game's got ridiculously irritating music. I think this is the one that goes just forever. That's the only sound it makes. I believe that was referenced in Earthbound as well on the soundtrack. You can hear a Xevious machine as well as a bunch of other arcade machines. But super generic upward scrolling vertical plane shooter, and it's super rudimentary. I really didn't find anything about it fun or satisfying, and the music is really annoying and it's really bland. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it at all. Like 1.5. It's seriously, I have so much disdain for this game. A weird amount, perhaps. No, can't recommend. You know, I just realized I was asking earlier, did I finish this game? I literally have a column that lists if I finished it or not. I'm dummy. So, Gradius. This one is also pretty boring. It just doesn't have much of a style going for it. It's got those weird, like, round ships that you have to hit in the center. It's just got like a very generic sort of sci-fi theme, and I didn't say this with R-Type, but I guess I'll just say it. I said it with Parodius when I reviewed Parodius ages ago. I really just don't like this format of game where, like, if you get hit and you die, then you lose all your power-ups and you have to, like, work your way back up. Like, I like the way that, like, cave bullet hell shooters have it, where maybe you drop all your power-ups, but then you just pick them all back up again. You know, but with Gradius, it's like you die and then you lose all your power-ups and then you're like, damn, well, I'm at the part where I died and now I'm like 10% of the power that I had when I died to that. So what fucking chance do I stand now? And it just feels like when you die, there's just a fucking like brick wall slammed up in your face and you might as well just reset the game, you know? Maybe that's mad 'cause bad, maybe that's copium. But I just find it really unsatisfying, and it always ends up being frustrating. And, you know, Parodius was cool enough for me to power through that bullshit, even though Parodius also had that issue. I'm going to give this one like a 2. 2. Why did I put a period after the 2? It's better than Xevious, but not by a lot. Okay, Bosconian is fucking lit. This one's actually, like, good. This one also has synthesized voice. This is, like, a version of Sinistar that's more palatable for me. This is the one that goes, alert, alert, and shit like that. Which I think they're trying to say alert. It's kind of fucked. Bosconian is awesome, though. It's a genuinely really fun, I think, like, possibly overlooked arcade game. Like, I like it more than Galaga. I like it more than maybe even Pac-Man. I don't know. I don't know about liking it more than Pac-Man. I'd probably give this one a 6.5 as well. But it's got funny voice lines. That's kind of like a cute, dated thing. And then it's got a lot of the same constituent elements as Sinistar, where it's sort of a free-roaming space shooter, but you go, nice, slow, calming pace. And there's lots of, you're like destroying these ships that have, if you destroy like these 6 weak points on them, they die. But then there's also one like super weak point that if you manage to hit it, insta-kills them, which is really, I think, a really fun mechanic. It's just a fun game. I genuinely like this one. 6.5 out of 10. Yes. If you're in an arcade, check out Bosconian. Now, Gyrus. This one, it's so easy to get all these fucking games mixed up, by the way. Fucking Galaxian, Galaga, G+, Galaga 88, Gradius, Gyrus. These are all space shooter arcade games. But, Gyrus, I think, is also going to get an NA because this one had like a weird rotational input that I remember feeling really awkward, and I feel like I didn't really get a good impression of the game. That being said, it's kind of neat. It's kind of like Tempest, where you're going around the edge of a circle shooting inward. Just the graphics look kind of muddy, though, I seem to remember. Like when things are approaching, it's kind of hard to tell like what exactly you're looking at. And I just think this is another one of those sort of like gimmicky, unnecessary complications of what is, in the end, you know, the Galaxian formula that actually works out pretty well when done properly. Yeah, I needed a spinner. Exactly. And there's a couple other games on this list that also I didn't use a spinner, and thus I didn't really get... I feel like the NA category is just for games where I didn't give them a fair shot because the emulation was fucked up for whatever reason. Okay, Galaga Arrangement. This is... let me refresh my memory, actually. I have a little, like, tab open with all the past... It's like the arcade games list. Yeah, this one was awesome. Yeah, this is the definitive Galaga experience. This is, like, by far the best one, in my opinion. Maybe not by far. But this one has sort of the speed and excitement of Gaplussy with the graphics of Galaga 88. And otherwise, it's just, you know, they kept refining the gameplay. They didn't make it too complicated. I think the old capture and recapture system is back. This is a fucking Poggers arcade game. I would give this one like a 7.5 even. And also, Pac-Man Arrangement is also awesome. These were both played off of the Namco Classic collections, which are pretty awesome. I never really checked out... They always have... it's always like, each collection, I think, has 3 games, the original versions of those games, and new, open quotes, arrangement versions of those games. I don't really know why the Japanese use the word arrange and arrangement like that, but I've seen it a ton. I really don't know what they're thinking when they do that, but sure. It's like a different way to play the game. I don't know. It's just a remake or like an enhanced, I don't know. Just call it a secret. It's weird. But culture shock, I guess. But the Namco Classic collections are real cool. I never played like the updated versions of Dig Dug and like X or Rally X or whatever. I think I called it X Rally earlier. But Galaga Arrangement and Pac-Man Arrangement were really fucking fun because they're both some of the better classic Namco games, and they just made a better, more accessible version of it. Pac-Man Arrangement is also awesome. Like I said, it's just a great version of Pac-Man. It's got kind of that little isometric look like Pac-Mania, but you can see the entire screen at any given time, which fixes the issue of Pac-Mania. And then it's just got some fun mechanics. This is the one that introduces Kinky. There's a ghost named Kinky in this game, which is really funny to me. And he's the one that, like, he, like, melds into other ones and, like, morphs into... Hold on, let me look at the video. Doesn't Kinky, like, do something weird? There's, like, super ghosts in this game. There's, like, little boost pads. It's really fun. And it was really fun to play with Lark. It's a good, like, 2-player experience. A lot of visual variety, a lot of cool levels, and it ends with kind of a neat boss, which is like the robot full of all the ghosts. Yeah, I think Kinky is like the nerd ghost. But anyway, it looks really good. It plays really well. I don't know. And it doesn't overcomplicate things. Keeps it simple. And I think it's even got that mechanic from Pac-Land, or Junior Pac-Man or whatever, where like sometimes the pills get thicker and you like take a longer time to go through them. It's kind of neat. It's a good amalgamation of some of the better ideas in the series. So yeah, I think 7.5 for this one too. It's actually really great. One of the better arcade games, honestly. Yeah, if you want to learn more, just Google Kinky Pac-Man. You should get a lot of good information there. Okay, Bubble Symphony. This was the stream where I like played basically just superior versions of games I had already played, except with Lark. So, Galaga, Pac-Man, Bobble. Bubble Symphony is essentially Bobble 2. I think it might even be called Bobble 2 in Japan or some shit like that. I was never the biggest fan of Bobble, except for saying the words Bobble, which is insanely fun. What did I give the original? 4.5, that sounds about right. This version is definitely better. It's a lot less, like the jump from Galaga to Galaga Arrangement or Pac-Man to Pac-Man Arrangement is pretty huge. The difference between Bobble and Bubble Symphony is fairly negligible. They just like added bosses and shit. There's a weird fucking thing where the main boss of Pooly Rula, which we will review later, which is a fucking awesome game, appears in Bubble Symphony as a boss. The dude that has like a globe for a head. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that, but there's like a lot of weird, cute little references. I think that he was like the boss of like Taito Land or something like that, because this is a Taito game. So they were just referencing other ones. I don't know. So I don't know, maybe give this one like a 5.5. It is fun, and they like improved. It's just a slightly less crusty version of what is an open quotes classic. I'm not going to recommend it though, honestly. I don't know. I just always thought the main gameplay loop of Bobble just gets old after a while, and there's always so many levels that you're never going to want to actually finish the game. You're just going to like give up out of boredom at a certain point, you know? And the whole mechanic of like stomping on the bubbles or hitting them with your spikes, I just always felt was a little awkward. I don't know. It is cute and fun though, and the amount of variety that they added to it really makes it a lot better than the original. So, right, he was the leader of Radish Land. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck was up with that. They had like Space Invaders references and shit there too, though. Okay, Puzzle Bobble. This is one of those games like Puyo Puyo where there's like a billion versions of it. I think this is the original, though. This is like the game... For me, the one that I played during my childhood was Fairy Spheres on Neopets or something like that. That's Fairy Bubbles, I think. Something along those lines. Fairy Spheres. I don't think it was Spheres. But it's the one where you like... I don't know, it's like the matching tile game where you shoot bubbles, little balls that bounce off the walls. Anyway, it's fine. I don't personally find this as engaging of a game as like Tetris Attack or Puyo Puyo to like play with a friend. But it's whatever. I mean, it's identical to every other version of this game that exists. It's like Dynamite, actually. I would say Dynamite is like the infinitely superior version of this game. Fairy Bubbles. Yeah, they spelled fairy kind of weird in Neopets. Anywho, Puzzle Bobble, give it like a 4.5. Fuck it. And no, just play Dynamite instead. It's literally better. Dynamite doesn't have versus mode. Why would you want to play versus mode Puzzle Bobble, though? It doesn't seem as fun to me as something like Tetris or Tetris Attack. You know? Or Dr. Mario. I don't know. That's just me. Joust. This one's kind of neat. It's got sort of a unique vibe. It's like, I always thought this was like a multiplayer versus game, but it's actually a cooperative game. And it's got that neat, like, 80s movie vibe to it. Like 80s movie sci-fi fantasy where you're like riding on these weird ostrich creatures and jousting, and there's like enemy jousters where they like the rider and the ostrich all hatch out of the same egg. It's very strange. It's not a terribly fun game, but it has like cool momentum physics. But it turns out a lot of the time when there's like super egregious momentum physics in a platformer, it's usually just like, cool, I don't like playing this though. Was Joust in Ready Player One? Hold on, let me look this up. I want to see this. Fucking Joust of all games. Maybe it was just in the book. Because I'm not seeing any movie pictures. Oh, maybe they had some people like riding the ostriches. Only in the book. Sad. So sad. Apparently there's like an Easter egg where you like see somebody, like a rider. But it's fucking Ready Player One Easter egg where it's like massive cluttered crowd of people. Oh, I know that guy. That's Phineas and Ferb's mom. Okay, whatever. Kind of neat. So yeah, it's got cool physics, especially for the time that it came out. It is a lot like Balloon Fight. Balloon Fight's better than that shit. I haven't actually streamed Balloon Fight, so I won't be reviewing it for you today. But yeah, Balloon Fight's a superior version. Otherwise, I always kind of felt like this game was a little jank. Like, you would think that you would want to like ram into enemies so that your spear like collides with their body or something, but it's kind of like you just need to be above them when you come into contact with them, and that's like all that matters. And I remember that feeling super weird and like unintuitive. But once you get the hang of it, it's a little fun. But I don't know. I don't really like the slidey momentum, and I don't think it has music. It just has like the sounds of your ostrich feet like running around or whatever. So I don't know. It's a neat game, but it's like a 3 out of 10 for me. Would not recommend. I think you can like kill your friends in this game, which is such a huge, like any arcade game that lets you do that is so bold because it's just allowing people to just waste each other's money blatantly. I guess you could waste people's money blatantly by like, you know, refusing to play in like Final Fight or whatever, but that would be, here you can do it without looking like that much of a dick. Anyway, Rampage World Tour. This was a kind of juvenile game. I never played the original Rampage. I don't know if I ever will. That was one of those ones where I was like, oh, you know, maybe I'll consider playing it when I was like wrapping up the arcade game series. But then I was just like, I just don't care. And it seems like Rampage World Tour is just like a better version of the original. It's got kind of a cute little claymation style. I don't know if any of it's actual claymation, but it like looks like it. It might just be that it's like early 3D animation that just looks like it's all made out of fucking clay. This was the game that said, with friends like these, who needs enemas? And that's just a phrase that will live in my head forever. I don't know what the fuck they meant about that. Like, what do they mean by this? But it's another one of those games that I feel like you play for like 5 minutes and then you're like, okay, I get it. You go around, you eat people, you hump buildings, you jump on the top of them and you smash them, and you get a little bit of serotonin, and then you're done. You know? I don't know. It just wasn't the best, and it kind of had like a weird, like dumb juvenile sense of humor, which of course I'm totally above that and have never done anything juvenile in my life. Anyway. Like 3.5. Fuck it. And I would not recommend. It's not terrible, but it's just kind of boring after a tiny little amount of time. You know. Okay, this is Peggle Arcade. This is the fucking one that I'm pretty sure nobody in the universe except me knows about. or at least before I made a video with it in it. I only played this game because it was like, it had the word Peggle, and it's just funny that it's another like sort of pachinko type game. This one has the distinction of you don't choose where the ball is launched, you like move the pegs around. But it's really awkward, and the physics are not, you know, anywhere near as satisfying as Peggle. Not that it even bears comparison, but it's slightly funny hearing the guy just like scream his fucking lungs out, going like yahoo, because like he's so enthused all the time. So that's pretty funny, but otherwise it's not actually fun. it's really just, this seems like the kind of game that would be like in a bar, you know, rather than an arcade where like boring adults play it for like a second and it's like, okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's not worth playing. Give it like a 2 out of 10. I don't know. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm happy with 2 out of 10. Okay, this is Pepsi Man. This is another one that is not to be confused with the infinitely more famous version. This is not the PlayStation 1 Pepsi Man game with the down, 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 down. It's none of that. This is a shitty gambling game. I don't think I'm going to give this one an NA because I think it was properly emulated. It's like a rock, paper, scissors game. They fucking hitting you with the Rochambeau in this game, and it's really dumb. It's really basic and short, and I think it was originally supposed to like pay out tickets or something like that. But it's just, it's almost nothing. I thought it would be funny, and it ended up just being really boring. It has like a couple of funny screens where it's like, oh, Pepsi Man's like falling or whatever, but it's like, it's so short and anemic, and there's no actual gameplay to it besides rock, paper, scissors. So 1 out of 10. It's not good. Don't play it. Learn from my mistakes. So this next one is Pooly Rula. This is like probably one of my favorite arcade games. This is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that's just absolutely batshit insane. Unfortunately, I did play the version of it that's like censored. If you can get your hands on this game, do the Japanese version that has like the giant legs boss. But it's genuinely a really, really cool game. Just really funny and creative. And it has a crossover with fucking Bubble Symphony, which is really funny. It's just got like lots of like wacky abilities. It's got this cute sort of rough hand-drawn style. You know, you could say that about fucking Pac Land, I guess, but I think it works a lot better in this game. And on top of it all, it's got really janky English translation. So if you do play the English version, you have some lovely broken English to look forward to, which is nice. I don't know, I give this one like an 8. It's actually really fun. Keeping in mind with all these games, of course, that I played them on emulator, which I think is how a lot of people, you know, are going to experience these games in the future, seeing as the arcades are not really much of a thing anymore. Not a lot of people are just going to like trek on down to Galloping Ghost just for kicks. So these scores are not taking into account the fact that every time you fucking die, you have to like put in money, you know? Like, thankfully we live in the future where we have ways around that. But I guess something to consider if you go into an actual arcade and see this by whatever chance. It is a bit of a quarter muncher. A little bit. Okay. Man, we're plowing through these. This is actually immensely satisfying. I also like that, you know, since I put a lot of my like favorite Nintendo games at the top, it's like super green up here. But then once you get down here, it's like, yeah. We get some like random bullshit games. We get some fucking bad NES games. I just like that we've got more variety in the list now. Whack games are kind of all over the place. And then arcade games, which are also kind of all over the place. Okay, Pooly Rula is awesome, though. Genuinely a cool game. Now, Space Invaders 95 Attack of Lunar Loonies is also really cool. It's like you know, kind of like how we had Galaga Arrangement and Pac-Man Arrangement, you may as well think of this one as Space Invaders Arrangement. It's like the same level of quality, same level of like amount of change from the original concept of the game. This is a very silly game with very like frantic music, and it's kind of like Parodius, where it's just very goofy. Lots of sort of like jokey enemies and lots of variety. It's pretty cool. I don't know. I remember this one being fun and not too challenging. You know, the arrangement games in this game came out, I think, a little closer to in the 90s, where arcade games started getting a little less brutal. Like, they wanted people to actually play through the games rather than just early arcade games where it's like, it's the same level looping over and over again. I guess just make it impossibly difficult, and then whatever. That's how we get time out of it. But here it's like they made them easier and more like detailed, which is cool. A good evolution. I don't know. I'm gonna give this one like a 7.5. I'd say it's like, yeah, right up there with Galaga Arrangement and Pac-Man Arrangement. Yes. Cool arcade game. Okay. This one's gonna get an NA as well. This is Sonic Waku Waku Patrol Car, or Waku Waku Sonic Patrol Car, excuse me. This is the one that's like a true Bebby game for Beppy. And it's like a ride. It's like a video game that plays on a screen inside of like a toy car that you sit in that like moves around or something. And you steer with a steering wheel. Apparently there were controls that I did not have bound properly that would have allowed me to do more in the game, but it is still, I mean, from what I remember, there was only like one part where you actually had any sort of like choice, and the rest of it is basically just, it's like the video game equivalent of like a theme park ride. Where Sonic, and it's so weird, it's like Sonic is a cop at the beginning. He's like, "Watashi wa Sonic, you know, come help me arrest minorities," or whatever. And then he like goes out on patrol, and he fucking like Eggman throws bombs at his car, and then regardless of if you win or lose, you get 5 stars and you fucking win. And I don't know how much having the wheel would have affected that, but I am gonna give it NA just to give it the benefit of the doubt. It is not what you would consider a classic Sonic title, but it's kind of funny. There's a couple others. This was in the same series as the Sonic popcorn machine that had like a little mini game that you play while it's preparing your popcorn. And then there was also Waku Waku Sonic Cosmo Fighter, I think, which was like Patrol Car, except you're like in a spaceship. So yeah, I don't know. Sega's on crack all the time. Darius Emmanuel Grouch III. This is not a terribly fun game. It's got kind of a cool style, sort of like R-Type, where it's got like a little alien xenomorph fish monster type vibe going on. But I always found this game ridiculously difficult, deceptively difficult for how, like, I don't know. It's one of those games where there's very few bullets being launched at you, but they're all going very fast, and you move pretty slowly. And I guess the only other thing to really... The big thing with Darius, to anybody who doesn't know this, because it's fucking Darius, is it was originally meant to be displayed on 3 screens. Like some games like Punch-Out and Donkey Kong have like 2 screens, one on top of the other. Actually, did Donkey Kong have that? I might just be thinking that because, like, Punch-Out was made because they had an excess of Donkey Kong screens or some shit like that. Anyway, some arcade games ran with multiple screens, and Darius had 3, but like on, like, you know, one, then the other to the right of it, then the other to the right of that, making this like super long, thin strip, you know, when you're emulating it. But I assume it's cooler in arcade where they actually have like the proper setup for it. But something that I find really interesting is that there's like a Darius reboot. There's like modern Darius games, and they still have the 3-screen gimmick. They still do that shit, which just kind of blows my mind. I'm sure there's like settings in the new ones for if you don't have 3 screens and you don't want it to just be this tiny thin stripe weird ass aspect ratio on your screen. But I think it's really funny that they kept that. Like, what? But it's not a terribly fun game. I don't know. I just remember it being sort of a basic bullet hell-y type space shooter, but with, again, very few bullets, just going very fast. I don't know. Like 2. I'm gonna give this one a 2. Sorry, Darius. Okay. How close are we? I'm just curious. No. No fucking way. We'll see. I mean, I've only been going for an hour. Hold on, I'm gonna turn on my AC for a second. It gets hot in my room when I'm just sitting in here talking. It was also like a hot day out today. How are you guys holding up? Boring? Is this... Anybody just think this is just boring as shit? We do have 224 viewers, which is kind of like a lot for these streams. Whew. Just gotta take a drink of water. Like, so much of the time, I've explained this before, but so much of the time I can just like sit there, when I'm playing a game, I can just sit there and not say anything for a while, but on these streams, I'm basically always talking. So, I don't know. Just gotta take a little break. I wish I could like chew some gum right now. Anyway, good background audio for drawing, that's good. Glad to hear it. That's kind of the idea, is that it will be good background noise for people rather than being something you super actively watch. Because I know, you know, who the fuck just sits there and watches a Twitch stream avidly the entire time? I know I don't. Oh, song ended. Okay. So, Forgotten Worlds and Eco Fighters, these are going to be 2 NA games, unfortunately. This was I think these were the only games that I streamed that stream. That I played that stream. I guess Darius was also in that stream. But both of them required the spinner control, like rotational controls. Forgotten Worlds, I think both of them basically, it's so weird that they both had the exact same issue and I just decided to do these in the same stream. It was just kind of a random choice. Now, I'm going to give these both NA, but I actually quite liked both of them. I think Eco Fighters is my favorite between the two, but Forgotten Worlds is what fucking... And this is another crazy deep cut reference, but in Final Fight, there's an enemy named 2P, with like the orange mohawk, and he also appears in Street Fighter V single player. That character is the second player character from Forgotten Worlds, which is like a very 80s fantasy sci-fi space shooter thing where you fly around and you rotate and you shoot your gun. There's not a ton else to it. It's got some cool looking bosses. This is the one that has the dragon, the open heart surgery dragon, that's just got its guts like spilling out and it kind of like swipes at you. And it's got some kind of like funny bosses. I remember this game has like a cool little shop like upgrade system that's got like a cute little UI to it. It's neat. It's not the best game ever, but it was fun. Hold on. Sorry, I had to snort my nose. But yeah, Forgotten Worlds was kind of cool. It's a little bit of a quarter muncher too, but actually, I don't remember it being like CBT difficult or anything. Then Eco Fighters was really fun. I imagine much more fun when the controls actually work, but I don't even want to try to describe what the controls were like fucking doing in this game. It was ridiculous. It was like, whenever I moved left or right, my weapon on my ship would like flicker back and forth to like adjacent sides of my ship like once every frame. It was really weird. Like, I don't know how I didn't like piece together that it was... I remember the entire stream, I was like, is the game supposed to control like this? And nobody could really get a conclusive answer. And then I went and looked up a long play afterwards, and I was like, oh, the game is definitely not supposed to control like that. So, Eco Fighters, I believe... Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but this game was... There was like a contest held by Capcom to where like a kid could like write in their own idea and characters for a video game and they would make a video game out of it. I'm not sure, I should just Google this. I think this is that game. But it's like an environmental game. It's got an environmental message. Wow, there's almost no information on it. So I don't know if that's complete bullshit or not. I could have sworn I remembered hearing that. Okay, whatever. But regardless, it's a pretty cute, fun game with satisfying weapons, and you fight giant, like, evil Wario at the end. Spoiler alert. It's pretty cool. I don't know. It's a cute game, satisfying, good graphics. But yeah, I'm just gonna put it down NA. Whatever. Okay, Sonic Boom. This is another one where I need to clarify. No, this is not Sonic Boom, the Sonic game. Although it is a Sega game. This is Sega's Sonic Boom. This game's basically just a superior version of Xevious, in my mind. It's almost the exact same fucking video game, but just with better graphics. And I don't know, did this game even have music? I don't even remember. I'm going to look at what I gave Xevious, and I'm going to give this like 1 number grade higher. Okay, 2.5. Because it's another generic vertically scrolling plane shooter. I literally only played it because it's Sonic Boom by Sega. Teehee. Please laugh, please clap. So, yeah. Not really worth it, in my opinion. There's so many of those, too. Like, whenever they release, like, oh, Capcom Arcade Game Collection, it's always like 50 fucking vertically scrolling generic plane shooters. And I'm like, man, I don't want to play these. I want to play Forgotten Worlds. Like, I want to play something wacky. You know? Okay, Rally X. This is like poser Pac-Man. It's kind of got the same issues as Pac-Mania because it's like a huge maze where the screen scrolls around. I think this game came out after Pac-Man, I'm pretty sure. It's like the same company, they just wanted to fucking milk the maze game popularity as much as they could. But this is another one that I just feel like overcomplicates the Pac-Man style formula. It's also just ugly. Like, it's got like a bad color palette. And I just never found... There was something always weird to me about the controls, because it's like the car that you're driving through the maze always like has to turn when it hits an obstacle. So a lot of the time when you're trying to like make turns in quick succession, your car will just end up turning a way you don't want it to go, and you're like, oh fuck, and then you die. Because if you like crash into something, you just instantly die. Which I guess the only things to crash into are the other cars. So it's basically the same as Pac-Man, but I don't know, it just feels like worse Pac-Man. And I think the sound that plays during the game is just like it's really an irritating sound, even more than fucking Pac-Man. So yeah, I don't know. This one does have oil slicks though. And there's an arrangement version of Rally X that I don't know if it's any good, but I don't know. I can't imagine it's that amazing. Like 3. I'll give it 3. No. Okay. I think Tron and Discs of Tron are also going to get NA. Tron, I remember being kind of a weird little mishmash collection of minigames that seemed kind of like disconnected and weird, but this was another one where I needed both of these games. The spinner control was required. But if you ask me, I'm not going to give a number rating to them, but Discs of Tron, for my money, was way better than Tron. Tron just seemed fucking weird and incomprehensible. And like, okay, like when I loaded into some of the levels, I was just like, what do I do? And then I would win, and I didn't even know what I did to win. It was just kind of weird. But Discs of Tron was actually pretty fun. And that was, I was having a decent amount of fun even with the gimped controls that like didn't work properly. So I can only imagine if you actually have access to the way the game is supposed to be played, it's probably even more fun. So for my money, if you're in an arcade and you're faced with the decision to play Tron or Discs of Tron, play Discs of Tron. I think it has... Does it have multiplayer too? I don't think it does. Anyway. Paperboy. This game is fucking infuriating. This is one that has, like, a peripheral where the controller is, like, handlebars, which is really cute. It's a neat game. I admire it in some ways, but it's just so fucking difficult. I don't know. Hold on, I gotta snort again. This happens when I, like, drink water when I've just been constantly talking. It's fun to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, this is one of those games that's just a little bit more frustrating than it is actually enjoyable. It is cool seeing all the, like, crazy variety of different obstacles, like creative, kind of funny obstacles, but I imagine it's a lot less funny when every time you get, like, a bullshit death from, like, a cat running out in front of you. When that costs money every time, I can imagine this game getting really frustrating really fast. But, yeah, I don't know. It's cool, though. It's definitely, you know, some arcade games are bullshit and also just not worth playing. This one's bullshit and kind of neat. I would still maybe say it's not worth necessarily playing, but it's cool. I'm gonna put down a no and, I don't know, maybe like a 4. Fuck it. It's kind of neat. And then, like, the part at the end of the level where you have to, like, race through this thing and, like, you have to, like, aiming with the paper is always weird in, like, isometric world. I don't know. It's a funny game, though. Excuse me. Loudly drinks. Okay, now Popeye, the fucking Popeye arcade game is weirdly goated. There's sort of an infamous story behind this one, which is that Shigeru Miyamoto wanted, originally when he was making Donkey Kong, he wanted to make a Popeye game. He wanted it to be a Popeye game. And they, like, couldn't get the rights for it or whatever, but then when Donkey Kong was insanely popular, he was like, okay, I'm just gonna make Donkey Kong instead, whatever. And that was insanely popular, and then Nintendo applied again to get the Popeye license, and they actually got it, and Shigeru Miyamoto designed this arcade game, and it's actually legit really fun. I would say it's better than Donkey Kong, and it's strangely addictive to play, even though it can be kind of bullshit at the same time. I don't know, it's very similar to Donkey Kong in terms of the gameplay. You're, like, running around on this little platforming stage, and you need to complete certain tasks. It's not always just get to the end, like Donkey Kong is. But it's fun. You eat the spinach, you fucking punch Bluto, and he goes flying into the water, and it's really funny. Pretty early rudimentary graphics, but it doesn't look bad. It looks good for the era that it came out in. And it's weirdly addictive. I would maybe give this one like a 6 out of 10. The Donkey Kong Killer. Anyway, we're moving on to Gorf. Gorf is another one of those games that's just an assault on the fucking senses. I believe Gorf straight up steals the ship sprite from Galaxian, like it's just the same fucking sprite, which is really funny to me. No, maybe it's not the exact same ship, but it just is another pixel art ship that really looks like the Enterprise. This game feels like a bootleg game, but I don't think it actually is. It's got a bunch of weird visual effects for arcade games of the time. It's got, like, that voice synthesis where it says, like, "Oh, I'm Gorf," or whatever. It's terrible. And they, like, rip off a bunch of different, like, types of games. Like, there's the different levels are, like, all vastly different gameplay styles. There's, like, a Space Invaders type level, and then, like, a Galaga type level, and then there's, like, fighting a huge boss that has, like, an armored shield that you have to, like, punch through, and then you have to disassemble the ship. It's very weird. It doesn't feel real. They straight up just use, I'm looking at the footage right now, they straight up use Space Invaders sprites. That's what I'm thinking of. And I don't think, is it by the same company? I'm not even sure. Hold on. Taito or whatever? Whatever, I don't care enough to look. I couldn't find any conclusive information. It's not fun. It's barely funny. It's honestly pretty lame. There's the infamously, the infamous case of Miss Gorf, which was like a sequel to Gorf that's like lost media, but no one's ever found it because no one cares. Anyway. Let's think what we want to give Gorf. I don't know, it's like a 2. A lot of these have been ranking pretty low. Let's give it like a 2.5. It is vaguely funny. No, give it a 2. Give it a fucking 2. Don't sugarcoat it. Gorf's not very good. I wish it was better. I wish it was like funnier, you know? Oh god, we're approaching Pee-Pee and Beavis Whoopee. Oh god, guys, it's gonna be a close one. Okay. Turtles in Time. It's a beat 'em up. A lot of beat 'em ups kind of get the same score for me, where they're like kind of tedious over the course of playing the entire game, and they munch a few too many of my open quotes quarters. But I don't know, I'm not the biggest TMNT fan, so a lot of this game didn't really have much significance to me. I never played this as a kid. I know a lot of people have nostalgia for it. And I've also never played the original TMNT arcade game that this is kind of a sequel to. It's fine, it's cute, it's got pizza time and shit like that. But it was nothing like mind-blowing, I don't know. It's your pretty average run-of-the-mill, decent beat 'em up. But I just think beat 'em ups are kind of a tedious genre, honestly. Let's give it like a 6. I'm gonna go with no, but I mean, if you really love beat 'em ups or you really love the Turtles, then sure. Fucking sure. Simpsons arcade game, I think I like slightly better, probably just because I actually kind of like The Simpsons. I'm not like the world's biggest Simpsons fan, but I've watched a bit of it, and I mean, I love Futurama, so I love the sort of Matt Groening, or whatever however the fuck you're supposed to say his name. Those types of creations. And I think the Simpsons arcade game has sort of a Pooly Rula sort of surreal vibe to it that's a lot more fun than TMNT, at least for me personally. Still got the same issues as beat 'em ups, where it's just like, and especially playing beat 'em ups with just 1 or 2 people, just wailing away on those bosses, it really feels like they did not balance it out for 1 or 2 players. Maybe they did, but it always just feels so tedious whittling them down like that, and especially trying to do so without taking a lot of damage too, and using up a lot of your fucking munners. So let's give this one like a 7. It's cool. Like for an arcade game, it's really good. I'd put it like roughly on the same level as Pooly Rula, maybe a little lower. I think I gave Pooly Rula like an 8. Yeah. Okay. Simpsons arcade game, yeah, sure. It's funny, too. Like, it's got funny, cute animations. It's got that cool, like, dream sequence where it turns into Earthbound. It's pretty cool. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker is weirdly good. I think it was the most enjoyable of these games that we played in this little trio stream. It's funny. It's got the fucking banger Michael Jackson tunes. It's got the, you know, it's a little racy, not racy. It has a whiff, an air of controversy to it, I think, because of the whole Michael Jackson thing and the fact that you're like saving children is like the main plot of the game. I know that's like based on the Moonwalker movie, but still. And then the fact that you touch a monkey and you fucking turn into a giant like Michael Jackson robot that shoots lasers. It's just funny and cool, and it plays really well, and it's genuinely an enjoyable, even without the Michael Jackson gimmick, it's an enjoyable isometric beat 'em up, you know. I love the fact that when you're charging your voice crack. When you're charging up your charge shot and you walk around, Michael Jackson moonwalks. It's fucking amazing. You can actually moonwalk in-game. So, yeah, it's pretty short, kind of basic, but it is fun. And a genuinely satisfying game to play on top of being funny. So, yeah, I would recommend. Now, Sega Sonic the Hedgehog is also going to get an NA. This was one where I needed a fucking trackball to do it, and there was this horribly annoying issue where it's like an isometric game. A lot of the game you're running straight diagonal, and it was like literally impossible to do that with my control scheme. So I had to do these like awful zigzags that just made the game completely miserable. I was so mad the entire time I was playing this game because the controls were just fucked. So I don't feel like I get to actually rank it. That being said, it's pretty basic. This is kind of this is the origin of Mighty and Ray, by the way, who made an appearance in Sonic Mania. And they were also in Sega Sonic Bros. Actually, no, I don't think they were in Sega Sonic Bros. It was just, there was like a yellow and red Sonic. That was so weird. This is another one of those kind of like theme park ride type games. It's not as much of a baby game as Waku Waku Patrol Car, but it does kind of seem like one of those things where it's more about the excitement of like, oh, you're rolling the ball to like make Sonic go forward, you know, rather than it being like a fun, skillful platformer. That's just the impression that I got when I was playing through it with horrible broken controls, though, so I don't know. There was just a lot of like set pieces where it was like, whoa, now we're going down the slide, now we're like getting launched up by the volcano. So, I don't know. NA, but it seemed pretty basic. Didn't really seem like, you know, oh, you gotta play this like hidden Sonic game that's actually really amazing. It's kind of gimmicky, pretty short. But it is cute. The graphics are good. It visually looks good, and I seem to remember it having okay music. But yeah, the trackball gimmick makes it hard to emulate, so keep that in mind. Arm wrestling. This is sort of the unofficial Punch-Out sequel. It's like after they made Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out, they made this. This is one where, you know, maybe it would have been better to use the actual controller, but I feel like I got the general experience using a joystick on my Xbox controller. It's basically more or less the same thing. This game has a lot of the same charm as the arcade Punch-Outs, and it's a lot more wacky. It's got, like, crazier contestants that are not all just, like, muscly boxers. It's got, like, a fucking robot monkey controlled by a nerd girl and, like, Frankenstein and shit. It's pretty funny. It's just a little goofier and more over-the-top than Punch-Out. That being said, the gameplay is not nearly as satisfying or fun as Punch-Out. It's just kind of weird. It's kind of a strange system they've got going. I don't know. I could explain it, but I don't know. Just watch my VOD if you're really curious. But it has to do with rapidly tapping to the left a lot of the game and strategically, like, easing up and then tapping really fast, or like mashing the button to get points in some ambiguous way that I never really even understood what was going on. It's roughly the same difficulty as the Punch-Out arcade games, which is to say, can feel like complete fucking horse shit, but is actually like fairly manageable once you understand a lot of the nuances, or maybe once you look up a fucking guide on what to do. But it's got a bit more of a sense of humor than Punch-Out. It's got this whole mechanic where when you win, they throw a big bag of money at you, and you have to catch the money, and you can just get, like, beamed on the fucking head with the bag of money and die, and, like, not get the reward, which is really funny. And then the game, like, laughs at you. It's pretty fucked up. I don't know. What did I give Punch-Out, just out of curiosity? Because the arcade Punch-Outs are up here because I suck at organizing things. Here we go. 6 and 5. For the number of contestants that are in each game. I don't know. I'd probably give this one also a 5. Like, it's not a terrible experience. I don't think I would recommend it, but if you're like a super Omega Punch-Out fan, then check it out. Yes, it does even have a guest appearance from a Punch-Out character, which is pretty fun. Pretty fun little crossover. Okay, Shinobi. This game was pretty plain. It was like a side-scrolling platformer type thing. It's kind of like Strider. And I didn't really like Strider that much, but this was like lamer Strider. Really not a ton to say about it. It had pretty bland graphical style. It had the imagination of a standard beat-em-up. I don't know. And the main character looks like such a fucking dweebus in this game. He needs like a hood, some kind of like mask or something, because he's like wearing a ninja outfit, but then he's just got like this like plain ass like white guy head that just looks really awkward and dumb. This game does have the scuba ninjas, which was kind of funny, but I don't know. I just got bored with it after a certain period of time. It wasn't as frustrating as Strider, but kind of similar gameplay style. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of like 2s and 2.5s here, I think. Okay, Smash TV. I remember I didn't play very much of this game. It must have got like pretty overwhelmingly difficult pretty fast. This game's a lot like Binding of Isaac, actually. It's a twin-stick shooter. Except it's kind of got it's another bombastic 80s setting. It's kind of like The Running Man, where there's like a game show, a cruel, sadistic, over-the-top game show where all the contestants kill each other. It's kind of fun, but I remember the controls feeling kind of awkward. I don't know. I remember there was something just kind of unpleasant about it. And then it just is also pretty samey. It's one of those things where it's just like, it's kind of like Bobble, where there's just level after level after level after level. And at a certain point, you're like, okay, can it end now? Like, I just remember getting bored with it and ditching fairly quickly into it, which is not really a great sign. It's not what you want. And I wasn't even paying for it. Who knows how fast I would have quit if I was paying for it. But it's got kind of a cute style. That's really all I have to say about it. I got these like nasty mouth sores. And they're kind of healing up. Feels good, man. Feels good to have, like, feel them kind of going away. Yeah, sure. Let's give it a 3.5, but no recommendation. Outrun was cool. I'm gonna give this one NA as well, because I was informed after the fact that, like, for some reason with the controls that I was using for it, I really did a lot of finagling to try it, because it has, like, the wheel and the gas pedal and the gear shift. This is one of those ones that one of those arcade games that you, like, sit in a seat, you know, and, like, simulate driving a car. People were informing me that the reason that it was so difficult to get, like, I thought it was just a brutally difficult arcade game, but people were like, no, you're actually going significantly slower than you're supposed to be able to go in this game. So, I don't know. I'm going to put NA down, but I'll still talk about it, of course. It's a cool game. It's got a really pleasant aesthetic. I think there's a reason there's a genre of music named after this one random arcade game, because it has a really cool vibe. I remember enjoying the music. I like the fact that you choose the music at the beginning of the level by, like, twisting the dial on the radio station, or on the radio in the car. That's a really cute detail. And yeah, it's a nice game. It was very stressful for me because I was unable to, like, go the proper speed, and there was this weird thing where, like, I had to gear shift at the beginning even if I started out in there was some bizarre thing where I had to, like, let go of the gas pedal completely and then press it down again to, like, actually be able to start at the beginning of the level. I don't know if that's, like, in the actual game, but it's cute. It's not, like, mind-blowing fun, but it's pretty cool seeing how with this, actually, Outrun, Space Harrier, and Afterburner 2 all have that, like, fake 3D, you know? Where, like, it's sprites organized in such a way as to simulate 3D, which I think is a really interesting sort of type of game, especially the further back you go. Now, Space Harrier. This is a cool game. It's kind of overly long, in my opinion. I don't know if this game needed a boss rush at the end of it, for instance. But whatever, fucking arcades gotta make their money. But this one has an amazing sort of like vaporwave looking ass aesthetic that I really enjoy. It's just whack to look at, and it's got kind of a goofy style. I don't know. It's hard to describe the style of this game, actually, but it's a fun little like space shooter type game with a new twist on the perspective. That being said, the 3D-ness of it kind of makes it feel sloppy sometimes, like, where the fuck am I aiming? What am I actually going to hit by like shooting straight forward here? I remember some of the bosses being pretty annoying, but I don't remember it being too crazy difficult. Standard arcade bullshit sometimes, perhaps. But this is a neat game. I don't know, like 7. That is not the column that I do that in. And sure, I don't know. Yeah, fuck it. I'm feeling charitable. Let's stick with yes. Afterburner 2. This one was also pretty cool. It's a little more generic. It's just kind of planes, dogfighting. But if you'll recall the Top Gun NES game that I played, that actually, of all the like shovelware NES games that I played, it was actually pretty cool. Like impossibly difficult at like a super arbitrary point, but I remember being pretty impressed with like the fake 3D that they had going on the NES, and they were able to pretty well simulate it considering the tech that they had at the time and just the effect of like the other planes swooping out of the sky at you. Afterburner 2 is basically just that, but more impressive because it had better hardware, came out later, probably. Actually, I don't know if it came out later, but it's a pretty technically impressive game, and that being said, I just remember dying a lot in it and being like, this is cool, but I'm dead, and I don't know what happened. It's maybe a little too fast and like high octane for me. Possibly. I don't know. Space Harrier was like a little more my speed. But Afterburner 2, it was cool. It's a neat game. This is one of those ones, I think the title of this stream was like, whoa! Because like the general theme was just games that would make a 90s kid go, whoa. Let's give it like a 6. A solid 6. No, I don't know if I'd recommend it. I know there's like a Genesis or like Jaguar version or something. I don't remember. Okay, Congo Bongo. This is like a Donkey Kong ripoff. I don't know, it's not terribly fun. You play as the Spelunky guy in this game. There's like a dude that looks just like the Spelunky guy. I almost have to wonder if the Spelunky guy is based off of the main character from Congo fucking Bongo. I'm not sure. It's lame, isometric Donkey Kong. The funniest part of this game is the fact that the little baby monkeys can team up on you and throw you over a cliff. That shit was pretty funny. Otherwise, it's pretty unmemorable. Yeah, I don't know. It had like cute graphics. The graphics were cute, and it was like functional, but it was just like kind of weird, bad isometric Donkey Kong. I don't think we're gonna get through all these today, folks. But I'll try. Hold on, I need to fucking turn on the fan for a little bit. Oh yeah. And there was another game that I was planning on playing at the same time, or in that same stream, called Zaxxon. And I think there was like a Siskel and Ebert clip that I watched recently where they were talking about video games, and they showed footage of Zaxxon, and I was like, yo, it's fucking Zaxxon! I never thought I would recognize Zaxxon somewhere, but it kind of just showed up out of nowhere. Okay, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to keep the fan on for just a tiny little bit here, because I'm kind of roasting. Sega Sonic Bros. This was an unreleased game. I had to do some real fucking emulator chicanery to actually get this game to run. There was like a specific version of MAME I had to use to run it, because this game was like presented to test audiences and they didn't like it, and Sega was like, okay, and just didn't release the game. This is the one, it's a falling tile game where the tiles are little Sonics, and when you fast fall them, they go like, they like open their mouths and scream, and it's really funny. It is, I don't know. It's another falling tile game, you know, similar, it's like Puzzle Fighter or Tetris Attack. It just has its own like little set of rules that I don't know, I'm not gonna fucking go into in detail. It's fun enough. I don't remember it being anything particularly mind-blowing. I never played it multiplayer. I only played against like the little CPU Eggman. But it was fine. It was fucking fine. I don't really see why they canceled it. I mean, Sega's fucking seal of quality was slapped all over Waku Waku Patrol Car, so I don't know why they weren't cool with this. But whatever. This is when Sega had a little more shame than they do now. I don't know. This was like, I'm gonna give this one like a 5 out of 10. Let's give it like a 4.5. Saw that shade of yellow and I was like, not quite. Not necessarily worth seeking out, especially because of the emulator issues you might run into, but that would be the only way you'd play it, because I don't think there are existing arcade machines of it, as far as I know. Maybe there's like a couple. Okay, Mega Man The Power Battle and Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters. These are both part of the same series. I kind of think I'm probably going to give them both the exact same score, which is 7. I'm going to give them both 7s. They're neat games. I'm not a big Mega Man fan. I've not like played a bunch of the games or anything. But it's a cool evolution, not really evolution, but it's just a cool arcade adaptation of the Mega Man formula. I think it's inoffensive, and the graphics are good, the music is good, it plays well. I don't remember being terribly good at it, because I don't know, whenever I get new weapons in Mega Man, I always just neglect them, because I'm like, I know how to shoot the lemons. I've just now figured out how to shoot the lemons. Don't make me fucking shoot the leaves or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. They're not fantastic. They're not terrible. They're just kind of there. It's like a one-on-one fighter, except Mega Man, like boss rush style. I don't think there were even like levels. It was just a boss rush. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Yeah, sure, I'd recommend them. Especially if you're a Mega Man fan. It could be a real treat. Except I remember both of them had a really obnoxious final encounter with Dr. Wily. I remember that really pissing me off. There was just like a total bullshit encounter, and it was like if you fuck it up, then you have to like do the whole thing again or something to get the actual ending. Some dumb shit like that. Okay, this is Pee-Pee and Bibby's. BB's. This is the one that I affectionately called Pee-Pee and Beebus Whoopee for a really long time. It turns out Whoopee is just what it's called in Japan. You know how I said Peggle was like a game that you play, that like adults play in a bar? This is like that. And furthermore, this is a titillation game. What do they call it? Like an erotica game? That's not the term. But there's like erogenous video games are a thing. And there was, I think in England, it's like, you know, ooh, let me pop on down to the chip shop and get my knockers off. Playing a little bit of Pee-Pee and BB's. I don't know. But it's weird. It's like a mappy style, like stealth collection avoiding enemies type game, where you're like, you see, you have like the side of like a house plan, and you're going up and down stairs and elevators and shit. And then Irage, that's what I'm thinking of. It's like in between the levels, it shows you like a silhouette of like a sexy lady, and then eventually it like takes off her clothes. And it's truly mystifying. Like, it's one of those things like Hooters, where I'm like, this sexuality was just so clumsily inserted into this, and I don't know how this could actually be like titillating for anyone, you know? So it had a really funny name. The game itself was not unfun, honestly, but it's just a weird specimen is all. I don't know. Gameplay wise, it was like a 4. I don't know. It was like a mappy clone, basically. A functional mappy clone. Didn't have like the trampolines, I guess, but you know what I mean. Very similar type of game. Captain Commando. This is another beat 'em up. This game did, in fact, I had to give up on this because there was a certain point where I like activated some difficult to perform glitch that like slowed the game down and made it so enemies stopped spawning. And I was like, okay, well, fuck, we can't do this. And like the screen wouldn't scroll anymore. So I did actually just watch a long play of the last couple levels of this. I still feel like I got a good idea for it, though. It's a fun game. It's very similar in structure. I think it's like on, I don't know, I would not be surprised at all if it was a heavily modified, like this game was a heavily modified version of Final Fight, because they have like really similar graphical styles and formats and sort of mechanics and shit. But it's fun. This is yet another goofy 80s type game. I think they just made up, they were like, let's just make up some sort of like Saturday morning television show, like cartoon type group of characters, and just give them their own universe and their own game. And it's pretty cool. This is the one where you have a fucking baby riding in a mech suit, and then you can put the baby's mech suit in another mech suit. So it's basically one of the best games ever made. Now, as a beat 'em up, I don't know. It's like roughly on the same level as Final Fight, and I've not actually reviewed Final Fight yet, because that's down here with the Street Fighters. All the way at the bottom. There it is. God, we're getting close, though. We're just inexorably closer. Actually, damn. I wonder if we're past, like, the halfway point. Hold on. We are at 343. Yeah. More than halfway. Nice. Feels good, man. And some of these, I mean, you know, the fact that I've got both Dynamite and Dynamite Deluxe on here, some of these are going to be easy to do. Fucking every Kingsfield game is going to get the same exact review, basically. Except that Kingsfield 1 is worse than the rest of them. And Kingsfield 4 is on the PS2. That's like all I have to say. Maybe we'll try to get up to Area 51 here today. How about that? So Captain Commando, it's like a solid 7. Let's give it a 7. Let's give it a 6.5, actually. I don't know. Beat 'em ups are just kind of lame to me, personally. Just like very on the fence about this one. I'm going to be kind and say yes. Okay, Puzz Loop. This is the game that Zuma ripped off of. It's just Zuma. Like, if you know Zuma, then you know Puzz Loop. Except the controls are a little bit more awkward because you're controlling it with a controller and not with a mouse. I think mouse look is just more suited to Zuma. This is another, just like with Puzzle Bobble and Dynamite, I think PopCap just made a version of this game that's just superior. Yes, you could argue that PopCap are dicks for stealing this game formula like this closely. Like, they even took the vaguely like the old world theme to it, where it's like a lot of ancient visuals. Zuma kind of took that and ran with it, and like, you know, they ripped them off. They basically ripped them off. But Puzz Loop is still a decently fun game. I wouldn't say like seek it out in an arcade or anything. It's just kind of interesting, just in reference to Zuma, just knowing that Zuma exists, and just shamelessly took from this game, but I think also improved on it. Just this game feels a lot slower and kind of more sluggish, and there were a couple times where I was like, oh, you know, couple little quality of life changes would have fixed this game a lot, you know. There was like a specific thing where it kept giving me a type of ball that I didn't have on screen anymore, and that was really frustrating. Anyway, it was not the best, but it's not like terrible. 4 out of 10? What am I saying? Give it like a 5.5. Okay, Narc. I really hate this game. It was not good. Not only is this game like weird authoritarian propaganda where you're like shooting down homeless people and drug addicts with machine guns, it like, not only is this game a snitch basically, but it's also just not very fun. There's this whole issue. I don't know if there was like something fucked up with the emulator, but there's these goddamn dogs in this game that if they get near you, I legit don't know what you're supposed to do, because your gun sticks so far out in front of your body that you can't shoot the dogs that are currently like biting your taint. There's like no way to like aim the gun down at them or anything. So it's like if you let a dog get near you in that game, you're just fucked. It was so frustrating. And I just kept encountering that same issue, and the rest of the game just was so ugly and so like hateful that I was like, I don't even want to play this. It's got like this weird, like they took a lot of pictures of real world objects and like scanned them into the game. Really the funniest thing about this game is the final boss, Mr. Big, which was featured in a JonTron episode. So just go watch that if you want to see the funny part of this game. But otherwise, I think it's made by the same people who made Smash TV. And both of those games just have a very, like, sort of cruel feel to them that just feels kind of icky. I don't know. This one in particular. So, now, what score do I give it? Absolutely not. Recommend, I don't know, like a 2. It's, like, mildly funny by its existence. Okay. First, Funky Fighter. This was a cool game, a very unique game. I think I thought that this was a whack-a-mole game, but I think it actually just has like a 9-button setup in that little grid that kind of is reminiscent of whack-a-mole. It's like virtual whack-a-mole. So the way that I was playing it on the numpad was actually a pretty faithful recreation of like how to do it. I'm pretty sure. But this is a very unique game. Where you mash the buttons that correlate to like the grid spaces that these monsters show up in to like harass you. It's very satisfying. It's very like over the top and bloody and crazy. I think unfortunately it only has 2 levels, which is kind of sad, and then it just loops those 2 levels with like palette swaps, which is kind of lame. I wish it had a little more content than that. But that being said, it didn't need to be a super long game. And I don't know, it's actually really fun and satisfying to play. It's kind of a weird hidden gem. But whatever. What do I want to give this one? It was actually a surprisingly fun game. Let's give it like a 7. Yeah. Because like even despite the fact that it's pretty anemic, I don't know, this would be fun to just like sit down, blast through in an arcade, and then get up and leave. Yes, would recommend. Raiden, I'm gonna need to refresh my memory on this one. This was another vertically scrolling space shooter, right? I'm pretty sure. Excuse me, I'm just gonna... Oh yeah, and there were a couple streams that I did with like bullet hell shooters. I moved those down to their own section. Yeah, Raiden's another... It's cooler than... You know what? Xevius was lame as fuck. And Sonic Boom was just a cooler version of Xevious, and I'm gonna say Raiden is just a cooler version of Sonic Boom. Like, again, such a similar game. Very generic, slightly less generic, slightly better graphics, actual music. Yeah, I don't know. I don't got much else to say about it. Pretty generic. What was the score I gave Sonic Boom? 2.5. A Lamau, Raiden, you have earned a 3. And I don't think I'd recommend it. Maybe that's a kind of a dumb way to rank that, but whatever. Okay. Now. Hyper Bishibashi Champ. This one's fucking legendary. This is a really great... I don't know. I feel like I had never heard of this, except like the Game Grumps played one of these games a while ago. It's super underappreciated, though. I feel like these should get modern ports, because they're really neat. It's like a fun WarioWare-type party game. It's really cool. The reason I say WarioWare is because it's got that like zany Japanese like variety feel to it. It's very hectic and fast-paced, and it's got like a good sense of humor, too. I don't know, genuinely really fun, and I imagine it would be really fun to actually play with other human beings and not just against the CPUs like I did. But it's actually really cool. I would give this one like an 8 out of 10. Oh wow, thank God. Thank God the conditional formatting just doesn't work sometimes. Let's take it from the other solitary 8. 8. Okay. Yes, would recommend. Play it with friends. It's awesome. I don't know, it's just a super high energy, fun, kooky game. Multiplayer WarioWare is really the best way to put it. Anywho. Now, Monster Maulers. This was another really cool game. This one was very much like Red Earth, which is a really fucking cool, underrated game. It's like a single-player fighting game where it's a boss rush. I think this game might have even been like served as some sort of inspiration for Red Earth. I think it came out before Red Earth. The graphics are definitely more rudimentary, but it's yet another one that just feels like they invented a fucking like random imaginary Saturday morning cartoon character lineup. And they're fun characters. They've all got fucking insanely cheeked out asses, as shown in the final cutscene. And man, it's just a creative, fun, kooky game. It feels good to suplex a giant moai head, and suplex a giant eyeball with a brain, and suplex a dragon, and suplex a lady flying a robot machine. Really, the suplex is the best part of the game. It's a cool one, actually. This one's really neat. It's better than a lot of beat-em-ups. I like the boss rush style a lot more. And it's got like, it's got fighting game style inputs, but they're pretty simple. It's like each character only has like 2 or 3 moves, rather than being a little more complicated like some other fighting games. So, yeah. I don't know, this one was awesome, actually. Like a 7.5? Fuck. Whatever. It's like when I paste games into this list, I think like all these like ones are not going to have the conditional formatting, which sucks because I'm pretty sure the conditional formatting just applies to the entire row, so I don't know why it fucks that up, but whatever. Okay. Now, Battletoads. Here's another one where I need to clarify. This is not the NES Battletoads game. This is a beat 'em up. This game's got a lot of personality. I also found it really frustrating and gave up like halfway through because it was just like too tedious. And I felt like I had already kind of seen all the game had to offer. But this game's got cool animation. It's got a very sort of juvenile sense of humor, like a lot of the Battletoads stuff. You kick enemies' butts in this game. I remember there's like the big pig guys that you beat them up, and then they're like scooting along on the ground with their butts stuck up in the air, and you go and you kick them, and they like fly into the screen, kind of Turtles in Time style, which is kind of funny. It has a neat sense of humor, and it's just sort of crude though, and like bloody. I don't know. Oh, hold on. I just realized I never said if I recommend this or not. But it was just kind of a frustrating game, and I just ended up being more annoyed than pleased at it eventually. But it is kind of neat. I don't know. Let me give it a 6, 5.5. Let's give it a 6. 5.5 seems too low. Good. Okay. Oh shit. Actually, we've got a couple of you know what? I'm going to be a huge asshole, and I'm going to skip Mars Matrix and Battle Garaga, because those are going to go... I'm going to move those down to the other bullet hells. Because I just want to do all the bullet hells in one row, because I want to be able to compare them to each other. Because they're just so similar, and so many of them, it's just like the specifics. Those are games where it really helps to compare them. So I'm actually going to skip these and reorganize the list. I kind of missed those. Okay. Sunset Riders, this is a fucking awesome arcade game. If you don't mind a little bit of racism, it's not even like necessarily racism, it's just like they have the trope of like cowboys fighting Indians, and you do slaughter a lot of them, which just comes across a little insensitive. That being said, this is like a side-scrolling beat-em-up, shoot-em-up type thing where you play as rootin' tootin' cowboys. It's got a really cute aesthetic, and it's got a lot of really like sort of cool cheesy, funny moments. It basically goes through all the standard cowboy cliches, but in a way that's just really fun and energetic. I was really surprised at how good this game was, honestly. There's just a lot of cute moments, a lot of like, just it's very like campy. It's almost like a campy arcade game, if that makes any sense. Just cool like sense of humor. And it also just you're gonna have to stomach the fact that it's got a level where you slaughter Native Americans. But it's like one of the best arcade games I ever played. Just really fun, really creative, really cute. Sorry that I am so constantly apologetic to racism in games. Fucking I love Punch-Out too. But it is an awesome game. This is like one of the best. Alien vs. Predator is kind of lame. These two are both just like pretty standard-ish beat-em-ups. Both of them have that issue where they just drag on and on and on at the end, where you're just like, man, can this game be fucking over? I think especially Alien vs. Predator was like that. But I don't really know much about either of these properties. Alien vs. Predator I've never watched. I like Alien, whatever. I think the Alien vs. Predator game was based on like the Dark Horse Comics version of Alien vs. Predator or something, right? Not the movie. I seem to remember somebody saying that. And then Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is it's like a comic or something, or an old cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon or something like that. Both of these games, Alien vs. Predator is a little more serious and just kind of a boring beat 'em up, honestly. It was not the best. I'd maybe give it like a 6. It's got some cool moves and shit, and I like the variety of the playstyles of the different characters, but other than that and the fact that it's got like, you know, good Capcom graphics, it's nothing to write home about. Would not recommend necessarily. And then Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is a little cheesier. This one's very much of the same ilk as like Captain Commando. And what did I give Captain Commando? Yeah, I'm going to give this like the exact same grade as that. It's cheesy, campy, but it also just sort of devolves into beating up a bunch of identical dudes by the end, and you just sort of want it to end. But it is, I don't know. It's got a fun style to it. So yeah, I think we're gonna let's do Area 51 too. This is the fucking imposter among all the arcade emulator games because we played it on a PlayStation. This is originally a light gun game, so it's gonna be real difficult to emulate properly. My brain is breaking. So we played the PlayStation version. It was like, we barely even actually played the game. We just wanted to see the funny guy come down and say, "Come on, stay low." So the game is almost irrelevant. I don't know. We barely played it. It was really crusty looking though, and it's a really fucking weird game. But I think in the end, it's just aim your cursor at the things and then click on them. And this port is just the infinitely inferior version of the one where the controls actually are designed for the game. So, I don't know. They'll give it like a fucking 2.5 out of 10. It's a little funny. Andrew and I have like a nostalgic meme about it, but otherwise, new. Stay low out of 10. And I think that's where I'm going to call it for today, folks. I think we got some good work done here today. And then next time, like, I know I'm pretty close, but it's so hot in my room. I need to take a break. These streams really take a lot out of me. So next time we will wrap up the arcade games. I'll move Mars Matrix and Battle Greg down to be with their other bullet hells. And I guess we'll move on to like some of these. Fucking Shrek Fairy Tale Freakdown. Poggers. But yeah, I feel we covered a lot of good ground here today. Look at all that. It's still going. It's like easier to review simpler games, you know. And I'm glad we had the NA thing. I would have felt really weird ranking these games when I didn't really even like fucking play them right. So, and I know some people will say, "Oh, you don't play any games right," but you know what I mean. So thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry the streams have not been as plentiful lately. I'm going to try to get my schedule back on track a little bit more. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. Thank you for sticking around. It's kind of weird. We had like a lot of viewers, and then we had a huge dip in viewers, and now by the end of the stream, we've got like all the viewers back. So sorry to all those people who went and got coffee and joined us again now just to leave. But I hope you got a kick out of it. Hope this was relaxing or informative or whatever people are wanting to get out of this. I really bit off more than I could chew when I started this series. I really thought this would take a lot less time than it did. Oh wait, hold on. I just realized I didn't say if I recommend Battletoads or not. How embarrassing. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go sit in front of my fan and go, See ya.